Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for your daily dose of Chelsea FC news. Gonna try and make this a daily series now because I've noticed that even when I'm sleeping, which is when you guys are probably enjoying the majority of your afternoon if you're from Europe, there's still news coming through now. And it's becoming to a point where I look at half of the players in our team and they've been linked with every other bloody club under the sun. Today, we're going to go through two stories about two players who have been linked with Liverpool. We're going to talk about Barcelona's 17-year-old wonderkid midfielder sensation, Gavi, who is apparently wanted by Roman Abramovich himself. We are also going to begin by discussing Wesley Fofana, who came out and said on Twitter Spaces, which, for those of you that don't know, a bit like me to be honest, is the first I'd ever heard about this thing. Twitter Spaces is like Twitter's version of lives. You know, you can go live on Instagram, you can go live on YouTube. Twitter Spaces is basically that. Wesley Fofana was asked by ActuFoot which clubs would be classified as your dream destinations as a very promising young 20-year-old footballer. He responded with, a club that makes me dream, Marseille, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Marseille's an interesting one, but fair enough. If that's where you aspire to be, that's where you aspire to be. In the Premier League, he mentioned Chelsea, United and City. Ever so slightly predictable if you ask me, but it's obviously sparked interest amongst the Chelsea journalism community. And considering Chelsea will almost certainly be looking towards a centre-back next summer, maybe even in January too, if we want to just get the business done early. I don't know what the dog's barking at, but he's yapping about something. Shut up, doggy boy. Wesley Fofana has said it's his dream, and Chelsea are one of the clubs involved in that conversation. The dog needs to relax. We got him sterilised, and he's still a crazy nutcase. Wesley Fofana to Chelsea. Again, I think he's a very, very decent centre-back. We have seen him at a young age perform at a very high level for Leicester in the Premier League. And I do think Chelsea going for centre-backs that are actually already established, quote-unquote, in the Premier League is actually a smart move. I'm seriously concerned that if and when it comes to replacing Christensen, Aspi, Silva, Rudiger, if Chelsea do go for the younger demographic from across Europe, I think it is far more risky than going for a younger player who's already played and proven himself to a certain extent in the Premier League. Wesley Fofana to Chelsea. As always, with these transfer news videos and Chelsea news videos, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And whilst we're at it here, now that story number 1 is finished, I'd love to ask you to subscribe to the George Benson Football Channel so that you never miss a video. And if you could also hit the like button on today's video too, that lets me know that you are enjoying the content. We move into story number 2, and I'm going to break up the Chelsea exit stories into two different players because I think both of them have different elements that need to be discussed, so it's more difficult to bracket the two together. We begin with an extension of yesterday's story that, since I posted that video, it's been more widely reported by, I'm going to say, the tabloid newspapers in England, as opposed to saying something slightly disrespectful. Mason Mount. We heard yesterday that he was a target from Real Madrid because he doesn't feel appreciated at Chelsea. A lot of people just absolutely nonsense me, saying it was clickbait, which of course it wasn't. I'm just here to report what I read in the Chelsea news and give my thoughts on it. No clickbait. That was the cheap response to my video. A lot of people are also saying that at the moment, Mason Mount still has 3 years left on his contract. He was one of the earlier youngsters to sign a new deal when Frank Lampard took over. So we almost kind of forget that despite all of these young players signing 5-year Chelsea contracts, we've also got to remember that a lot of them now have been in the team for 2 years. So those numbers start to go down. Their importance in the team starts to rise. And Liverpool are reportedly interested in capitalising on Mason Mount not feeling appreciated. At this moment in time, I don't think Mason Mount is even close to the kind of point that we're talking about with Rudiger, where the contract is almost ran out and it's almost the opportunity where Rudiger can talk to other clubs. Mason Mount isn't at that stage yet. However, because of, like I said yesterday, the disparity between what Mason Mount was given in his contract and now the level he's performing at, we can't just wash all of these doesn't feel appreciated quotes and rumours that aren't necessarily direct quotes. It's a source close to the player. It's being reported. But you've got to take some of these little things seriously because every Chelsea player, no matter how good they are, no matter how confident they are in their own ability, is going to be almost threatened to an extent by the quality of this squad. If they don't feel slightly threatened by that, then, well, I think that it's actually more of a problem than the fact that they do. My biggest concern about this is until we start to see big and good quality journalists reporting this from very, very decent sources, I wouldn't buy into it too much. I talked about it yesterday and I made it quite clear that I believe personally, and again, not that I know very much at all, I think Mason Mount is going to stay at Chelsea for a very long time. Just because he's not happy right now with the value of his contract compared to what he thinks he's going to get, it doesn't mean that Chelsea might not be working on it. At the moment, there are more pressing contractual issues to deal with, such as players like Thiago Silva, Tony Rudiger, Christensen and Aspi, whose contracts do expire next summer. So in terms of the Chelsea's hierarchy of importance right now, Mason Mount's new deal is something that probably does need to be worked on to secure his future at the club, but it isn't the number one priority at this point, in my opinion. We move into story number 3. Just to clarify, actually, to end story number 2, Mason Mount to Liverpool, we cannot let this happen whatsoever. If Mason Mount wants to better his career by going to Liverpool, I believe that is a sorcerous statement that should not be taken seriously whatsoever. Chelsea are the champions of Europe right now. We are top of the Premier League. To better your career by going to Liverpool isn't a sentence that makes sense. It's a stalemate right now. You could argue it for, you could argue it against, because Chelsea are delivering trophies and they are delivering quality on the pitch. And I believe we are absolutely on par at minimum with Liverpool at this moment in time. We move into story number 3 officially. Gavi, 17 years of age, was in the Barcelona B team last season. He is now promoted to the first team squad in Barcelona's bid to excite, be quiet. Barcelona's bid to excite their fans once again after losing Lionel Messi to Paris Saint-Germain. Now, Gavi is 17 years old, he plays in the centre, and he's a very, very good player. And it is being reported right now that Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich is willing to pay Barcelona the €50 million release clause that is in Gavi's current contract, which runs until 2023. At the moment, Barcelona, one of their key priorities is to extend Gavi's contract so that he doesn't leave for €50 million, which is the current release clause. Barcelona are looking to imprint a release clause, probably something along the astronomical region of €1 billion, which they've done for Pedri, Ansu Fati. Barcelona are doing everything they possibly can to make it near impossible for their best young talents to leave. Barcelona are a club in serious worry right now in this moment in time. They've lost a load of people at the gate. Match-going fans aren't going because they miss Lionel Messi. Messi was the biggest pull that club has had ever in the history of Barcelona Football Club, which is a huge statement to make because they're a massive club. Not that I like them, but it's very, very true. Now, I think that Barcelona will probably end up getting Gavi to sign a new deal. Chelsea are one of many clubs who look at that position with 50 million being the release clause, thinking that's actually pretty good going for a player who is already playing in the first team at Barcelona. Looks like a player with an endless ceiling of talent. He's been brilliant so far this season for a struggling Barcelona team. He's been one of the best players in that team at only 17 years old. Do I think that Chelsea will get this one done? It's still early stages. Chelsea are interested. Other clubs are interested too. I'm going to say no. Would I be interested? If a 17-year-old looks as good as he does on the football field right now, then of course I'm interested in what Roman Abramovich and Chelsea want to do. We move into story number 4. And again, we're talking about bloody Liverpool once more, as they are linked with Christian Pulisic. Now, I'm going to give my thoughts on this one because the way it's been reported, I think it's classic footballing reporting. I'm going to put some of the article up on the screen for you, and I'm going to read out why I think this is absolutely a load of nonsense at this moment in time, but you can see why people would buy into this idea. Pulisic has barely featured for Thomas Tuchel's side this season after catching COVID near the start of the season, then missing 12 games with an ankle injury. And after the American cost Chelsea almost £60 million to replace Eden Hazard, Tuchel could look to cut his losses on Pulisic. Again, not something that has come out of the horse's mouth. Thomas Tuchel has not said he would like to cut Chelsea's losses by selling Christian Pulisic. At the same time, Christian Pulisic might have an expectation to be involved in virtually every single first team starting 11 match that he's fit for. The only concern is, and it is the biggest one and it's the undeniable one, is that if Christian Pulisic, since he signed for Chelsea, has been out injured for almost a year of physical days and time, then I don't think that expectation of always being in the starting 11 is actually a realistic expectation whatsoever. Chelsea, a club with an absolute plethora of great attacking players, cannot afford, just because they spent 60 million on a player, to say, when you're fit, mate, you're always in the team. This isn't how it works. I'm not saying for 1 second that Christian Pulisic has come out and said that he is very disappointed, because I don't think anybody is stupid enough to think that if you are out injured for a large portion of time, that you're always destined to walk straight back into the first team. This is not the words of Christian Pulisic, and I think that any frustration that Christian Pulisic might have about game time at this moment in time can still be considered healthy. And it can be considered healthy because he knows that he needs to remain fit in order to remain in the Chelsea team. Now, it is being reported that this kind of transfer, Pulisic to Liverpool, would be a great deal for both clubs. Again, I think Chelsea are not yet at a stage where we're looking at Pulisic thinking, God, can we just cut our losses? I made a video a couple of weeks ago saying it might be Pulisic's last chance if he gets another big injury before seriously contributing to the team this season. Then Chelsea may consider it. Do I want that to happen? Absolutely not. Do I think it's going to happen at this stage? Absolutely not. The man came off the bench at the weekend, scored a goal, and didn't go off injured. That is great news. I also think he might start against Juventus tonight. You'll see if I've chosen him in my match preview that will come out in a couple of hours' time. Pulisic to Liverpool. It would make a lot of sense for Liverpool. They'd absolutely love that, wouldn't they? They need a player like that. Still questions about the future of Mane, complaining about not being paid as much as Mo Salah. Mo Salah, will he sign a new deal? Liverpool do need some more depth in their attacking areas too. As for Chelsea selling, it's incredibly premature to even consider that, in my opinion. At this moment in time, we've got to be careful with the way that as fans we interpret the words that are used in the journalism that we are fed on social media and through newspapers and online outlets every single day. Tuchel wanting to cut his losses is not something Thomas Tuchel has said about Christian Pulisic. We need to remember that. I don't think Pulisic's going anywhere. And going off of the basis that he does stay fit for the rest of this season, I think he'll be a key player for Chelsea. I think he can be absolutely world class if he remains consistent. But anyway, that is my thoughts on those 4 Chelsea news stories today. Thank you guys so much for watching. As I just said a minute ago, if you want to see my Juventus Champions League preview, the biggest game in the group so far, then be sure to check the channel in a few hours' time. I'm aiming to upload it around 8 or 9 in the morning UK time. And obviously this news video is dropping for you as soon as I can possibly get it up, which will be in the middle of the night for some of you. So if you watched it, thank you very much. And I'll see you guys later. Come on, you Blues.